And then you can also add JFSR, sprinkle it in there. And what you're going to notice is that all these movement options can be interlinked with each other. That's the best part about it. They can all be interlinked. Welcome to Open Hwoarang Lessons 14's Lesson of the Day. Today's lesson is Hwoarang Movement. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Hwoarang has a plethora of movement options. A plethora, mind you. So let's start. These are the movement options Hwoarang has available to him in left foot forward, left flamingo stance, and right flamingo stance. As you can see, it's bullet pointed here. There's about 5 options. In left foot forward, we got the classic wave dash or crouch dashing. That's what it is. In right foot forward, we have crab walking and the RFF Dance. You probably have not heard of those terms before, or you may have, and of course we'll deep dive into it later in this presentation. LFS Armor, I think you might have a good idea of what I'm talking about here. And the left flamingo and right flamingo step. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk about left foot forward, wave dash. What do you need to know? Classic Mishima. And what does a classic Mishima look like? They basically vortex you into a 50-50 or whatnot. But I need to tell you again a little bit more because Hwoarang's is slightly different from the Mishima style of wave dashing or incorporating it into his game. So let's go back into the game. Again, Mishima, you'd always see it like this, right? They'd be waving in your face or crouch dashing randomly into the screen and then throw out like an electric, right? So Hwoarang can do the same thing. You can KBD, wave dash, crouch dash, any kind of wave dash or crouch dash you'd like to do. This one's like a kind of small stutter step crouch dash. This is a sidestepping crouch dash. Is electric stairs, and then this one is a full-on wave dash crouch dash thingy-mabob. Okay, and you could always include JFSR in any of them. So basically you'd see an electric wind god fist here, but it's not only JFSR that you can put in here to act as your electric wind god fist. You could include other stuff like DF2 or Flamingo. This is the most important part. In every single wave dash option or crouch dash option that exists, Hwoarang can increase the speed even further by adding Flamingo. And there's so many stuff you could do. See, as you can see, you're moving that, you're crouch dashing, etc. And then suddenly out of nowhere, you just do forward 3. And then you step so much towards the right that you may have avoided something while moving. And you've pressured them into a situation where they would hesitate and they would press a button. And now you avoided that and you could do something like LFS forward 4 and catch the launch. Or you could change it to right flamingo. And then, since right flamingo is known as the 50-50 stance, you could do an axe kick. Or you could do the hell sweep. And you could do that off wave dash pressure. And you can get a +1 as well. You can get a +1 by wave dashing and then doing right flamingo, and then boom, you get +1. And of course, it works for back dashing as well. So let's say you're waving, etc., whatnot, and then while standing forward, and then back dash, and then you now switch to RFF, and you include RFF with the wave dash. So now that you're fully utilizing 2 options and covering a lot of distance or moving away to bait them into a situation, right? And then you can also add JFSR, sprinkle it in there. And what you're going to notice is that all these movement options can be interlinked with each other. That's the best part about it. They can all be interlinked. So I'm already doing some stuff ahead of the lessons, of the slides. But that's how it will look like once you combine all the options together. So that's the wave dash. Let's go back to the slide. So again, that was the wave dash example. Now let's go on to the next slide, which is the RFF Crabwalk. Now I didn't show it earlier when I was demonstrating the wave dash, but what is the RFF Crabwalk and what does it do for you? Again, there are multiple inputs to get a crab walk, but the beauty about this movement option is that you remain in RFF, you can approach your opponent in RFF, and you can pressure in RFF mainly. So even if you're far away, you could be doing the crab walk and remain in RFF, so you can always throw out backlash just in case they want to throw out any move that covers a lot of distance, like a running move, let's say Dragunov running 2 or Cloudier running 2. You can easily prevent them from doing that move against you and you'll win that option while approaching in RFF. And pressuring in RFF, let's say they're at the wall, you get a knockdown, let's say you did running 3, they're at the wall, you switch into RFF, you can just continue moving back and forth to pressure them. So again, let's go back into the game. So what does the crab walk look like? So in order to do the crab walk, you need to be an RFF. It's given, right? And the basic input is back forward. So I'll open up command history here. You're gonna notice a bunch of back forwards coming out soon. That's what it looks like. And this is only one version of the Crabwalk. This is the back forward version. Well, and by doing back forward, you can block an option while doing the Crabwalk. That's the best part about the Crabwalk. If they throw out a high or a mid, you can block that. And if you can react, you can change that into down back and you'll be able to block the low. So that's one version of the Crabwalk. Another version is doing back forward forward, back forward forward, back forward forward, back forward. And you notice now it looks a little bit more different. And it's difficult to maintain as well. You might move out of RFF and that's going to make you very vulnerable. So it's something that you have to really practice when you do the other versions. Then there's a forward, back, back, forward, back, back, forward, back, back, forward, back, back, forward, back, back. Many multiple versions. And of course, within the Crabwalk, there's also the stutter step, which is a simple back forward done really fast. Which is the back forward I was showing you earlier. But usually the stutter step happens when you do something on block and then you stutter step or Crabwalk. Like so. And typically when I met by approach in RFF, you could literally do it like this. You could literally do it like this. You notice how much you're approaching space? And then you can still bait them because the hop in RFF is pretty significant. And then hop and then JFSR. Just like that. It's beautiful. That's RFF Crabwalking. Let's move on to the next slide. So the next is called the RFF Dance. Or this particular movement option has a lot of names. It's been called the L Dance because you move in an L. MDJ has explained this so many times in his videos. And every other Hwoarang resource available, including Baska, has talked about this particular movement option. And you see it a lot when I play in the Cheese Dojang, most especially when I'm using Hwoarang. I'm going to be somewhere in neutral or in a defensive situation, like when you're far away from me. And I'm just going to be hopping around, hopping in and out of RFF. And so I'm in LFF, RFF, LFF, RFF. And yeah, typically it's in neutral. So I move in again here, move in out of RFF, and it's mainly used in neutral. You don't use this in offensive situations because if you use it in an offensive situation, you're gonna get hit. And there's so many more better offensive options that exist than doing the RFF Dance. So again, we'll pop out into the game to demonstrate what the RFF Dance looks like. What you'll notice is that when you're in neutral, again, if you mix it with the Mishima stuff, this is the L Dance. This is the RFF Dance. Just like that. This is how it typically looks like. And as you can see, I'm moving in a certain square box direction. And this requires you to hop in and out of LFF. As you can see, I am hopping out in and out of LFF. Every time I'm moving forward or backwards, I need to press RFF again. And the movement gets cancelled out by doing up or down. As you can see, as move up and down, as in a box, right? And of course, this is, as you can see, it's towards the foreground or towards the right since you're in player 1. That's this version of the RFF Dance. You can change it into up instead. You can move the box this way, the RFF Dance this way, right? So you're now covering the foreground, or if you're in player 1, the left side of the screen. And those are the only two versions of it. So of course, to achieve this input, what you do is you press back first, and then you cancel it with down, and then you press forward. So that this is of course the player 1 right when you're towards the right side. And then you cancel that with up, and then you press back again, cancel it with down, press forward, 3 plus 4 again, cancel up, back, down. So again, back, RFF, down, RFF, up, back, RFF, down, RFF, up, whoops. RFF, down, RFF, up, RFF, down, RFF, up. Then we speed that up. And you start to notice, oh, yeah, that's how it looks like. And then, so it's the same thing if you want to do it towards the left. Back, so RFF, up, RFF, back, RFF, up, RFF, down, RFF, up, RFF, down. And of course, if you speed that up, you start to see that you're covering the left side of the screen. Of course, it's very easy to get so mixed up in towards going towards the right, because it's very easy to go towards the right. Depending on the side you're on, it's always going to be easier to go towards the side of the screen. And of course, you could also do something like this. You could RFF Dance away from your opponent, up, back, or up, forward. So as I did say, there were two versions of the box. This is another version. So this isn't even a box. This is utilizing RFF Backlash. And if you don't have a KBD, you could use this as your KBD. But it's very risky as well if you do it using it as your KBD, because you are quite open every time you swap stances. Since again, even if these are the stances Hwoarang can block in, there's a small window in between swapping these stances where he can get hit. And there's nothing you can do about it. So be very careful in regards when you're using this. That's why it's mainly in neutral. So that was the RFF Dance. Let's move on to the next slide. LFS Armor. So this is something you can do actually in left foot forward, but mainly when you do it, you're gonna be in left Flamingo. Probably, right? Most probably you'll be in left Flamingo when you do it. But it doesn't mean you can't do it in left foot forward, okay? The move I'm referring to is DF3 forward, or DF3 for that matter. You just cancel it with forward in order to remain in left Flamingo. So you can now approach them in... I got the slide wrong, but approach them in LFS, not RFF, that's wrong. When I edit this, you're going to see a correction. But LFS. And you can pressure them in LFS, most especially if they're at the wall or even in open. If you've seen some of my clips of Hwoarang in the office on my Twitter, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So of course, to demonstrate again, we'll go back into the game. And what I'm referring to again is, so let's say again, you use the machine movement, incorporate it, and then you're in Flamingo, and then you do this. This is LFS Armor. Now you've approached them in armor, and you can pressure them in armor, because you can always just let go of DF3. You don't need to hold forward. And that'll keep them in check. And then you can also hit confirm the string, since it's delayable, to a certain extent, of course. And then, of course, you can always change it into down 3-4, LFS1, or even avoid whatever they're gonna do completely by doing LFS back 1. Or low crush. Basically, whatever read you have at the moment, you do that option. And they may or may not challenge the LFS Armor. But typically when they challenge the LFS Armor, they're going to jab or down jab. So that's the basic risk you're running. So by approaching, let's say somewhere here, you could do 2 or 3 cancels and you're already at their face. And you could easily do something like LFS back 3 just in case they challenge the option you use. So you're very safe. Not exactly very safe, but it's definitely one of the unique ways Hwoarang has to close in on his opponent in left foot forward, like just like this, or left Flamingo. So let's say you're moving far, cancel, now you're in. Just like that. It's fantastic. It's a really, really unique option for Hwoarang. So yeah, so that was left Flamingo Armor. You can find far more applications for it, and it's also used in Foxstepping as well. Like when Hwoarang turns his back against you and just flamingos away towards the other side of the screen, that is also something you can do. And since it has armor, all the more if they do a running tackle, you're still, and you have the life lead, you're gonna win by timeout. That's what's gonna happen. Okay, going on with the presentation, let's go to the next and last movement option. The left Flamingo, right Flamingo step, or as we like to call it, the Flamingo step, whether it be towards the left or towards the right. And there are many ways you can do the Flamingo step, mind you. You can still do it from LFF and RFF, and you can do it in Flamingo itself. So what does the left Flamingo, right Flamingo step, or Flamingo step give you for that matter? You can avoid a good number of situations by entering left Flamingo or right Flamingo and taking your turn immediately, or putting a small mix-up in their face, and it can be used for both offense and defense. Of course, it can be used also in a neutral sense, just like when I was showing you the Mishima Wave Dash, crouch dashing into forward 3 or forward neutral 4. That's more or less like neutral. But offense is like when you have when your opponent doesn't want to press a button, you're overwhelming them, rushing them down, etc. with kicks and whatnot. And for defense, when you're in a little bit of a pinch, there are some moves wherein you can forward 3 out of a situation. If I press forward 3, you notice he moves slightly. He moves ever so slightly towards the right. And that's like a sidestep, but it doesn't cover the same distance as a sidestep. Or it kind of does. Basically, they're very similar to each other. But the difference is, with a sidestep, you can block. So if you can do SS block. So, if you do Flamingo, you can't block, by the way. So the only way to prevent yourself from getting hit if you do a regular forward 3 is to do DF3. Or back 3. Or back 1. And you can see how much space you covered. And he hit him right at his back. Or his back left, right? basically his back towards the left, near his bottoms. That's, you can cover a lot of distance by just doing forward 3, back 1. A lot of distance, because back 1 covers way more distance than forward 3. But you can increase the distance of forward 3 by pressing down down. So forward 3 down down instantly gives you far more space than forward 3 would give. So you can, as you can see, you can compare it. Forward 3, forward 3, forward 3, wow, okay. Forward 3, forward. Oh, I love you, Hwoarang. Forward 3, forward. Yeah, I love you. Now please give me forward down down. Forward 3. Okay, that wasn't forward 3. Forward 3. Every time. Forward 3. I'll do forward down down instead. Forward down down, and forward 3. There you go. Just for comparison. But I'll probably loop that clip here when it gets edited. But yeah, and the same can apply for forward neutral 4. So forward neutral 4 is the only way to enter right flamingo normally, like forward 3, without pressing a string. Of course, this is a little bit more difficult to get because it's similar to JFSR, except you're not putting a down forward in between. You're just pressing 4. And of course, naturally, you can't guard. And the one ways, of course, the other, for Flamingo, this is, you could do RFS F4 or you do RFS back 4 to prevent whatever your opponent's doing. And of course, I said you could, this is for LFF, that's using it in LFF. You could also use it in RFF. So let's say forward 2, this is -2, right? And you do RFF forward 4, which puts you in right flamingo. So all you have to do is just press up, up, and you're gonna avoid something. Or you could do this, cancel it, and then do it forward, down, down. So forward 2, cancel, forward, down, down. Forward 2, cancel, forward 3, down, down. And you're gonna avoid a good number of stuff if the button they pressed is quite linear or weak towards that certain side which you stepped. That also applies for right flamingo. But more often than not, what you're going to be using is the forward 3 version. But of course, one thing to know is that when you use forward 3 or forward neutral 4, make sure you're stepping or canceling towards the side where it's stepped at. So if I do forward 2, I should cancel RFF or get out of RFF so I can go back to LFF by pressing down and then press forward 3. Because it's counterintuitive, if you do forward 2, you cancel it by up. So you're stepping towards the left and then doing forward 3, 3, forward 3, down, down. Because if you do that, you're going to get caught by the option that they pressed here, and you're not going to avoid it by doing that. What you want to do is make sure you step towards that side to even have a bigger step. Same goes for others as well. So this also applies in left flamingo. So let's say you do, forward 3 here. Classic step, bang, classic step. Or you use something to increase your step if they challenge it. And this is very, very common in DF1-3 because back 1 is the saving grace of the DF1-3 mix-up. Albeit it being -14, it will avoid a good number of options by simply moving away. And you can also include it with DF1-3 down, down to avoid certain options. And you would notice players doing flamingo and step. So it can also be used for offense just like that. Or up back 3-4, then step, then RFS F4-4. Since that may avoid a jab. And it's very, very useful to use at those kinds of situations. So if I'm doing the RFF dance here, I can randomly just do forward 3 and then step neutral forward 3 again. 0 on block, cancel, step again. Push back, let's say you did something that's push back, RFF dance, hop, JFSR, stuff like that. There's a lot of things you can do and experiment with Hwoarang's movement and consolidate them all together to make your own movement. And that could get integrated into your offense, neutral, or defense. So the only main caveat about all those movement options is that they all come with risks. So of course with the LFF wave dashing or crouch dashing is that if you're not canceling or putting blocks in between these cancels for, crouch dashing, you're going to get hit. You're going to get launched. For every variant version of crouch dashing that exists. For RFF, crab walking, if you're not blocking, or if you've not able to react with a down back for lows while doing a crab walk, you're going to get hit. And if you don't make your back forward or any other version of back forward that exists for crab walking, you're going to get hit. For the dance, if you over abuse this, you are going to get hit because there's a small window in between that can get Hwoarang to get hit, and you can't block in that. Regardless, even if LFF and RFF are the stances where you can block. For armor, this is a power crush. So if an opponent presses a low, it's going to register as a counter hit, and you're going to get hit. And you cannot throw break in power crush. So if an opponent throws you while you're in a power crush state, you are going to get thrown. And power crush, major risk. And of course that goes for the Flamingo stepping as well. You cannot guard. So you're forced to risk by pressing a button. There's no such thing as canceling Flamingo. You cannot cancel this leg to make it go down. You cannot. This leg will remain up and will continue to remain up for as long as you continue keep pressing buttons in Flamingo or using a button that keeps it in Flamingo until you have to press a button that puts it down, just like RFS 2. You have to wait for that leg to go down so that you can block, and that's a good half second or so. So that's the risk when you're doing this Flamingo step. At least you will not get counter hit, but you are open to being launched. So be careful with that. And with that, that rounds up the options of Hwoarang's movement. Again, this has been Open Hwoarang Lessons. I hope you enjoyed that cheese, and thank you for watching. Okay, so I just said that for like when I edit it, it gets cut there. But for the stream, that's about that. That is it. That is the lesson.